Welcome, everybody, to the 11 Yards Podcast. This is Anthony Winter of Legit Football, producer of 30 Minutes of Football, and I'm here with the brand new every week, focusing on statistics throughout the year, every week, and next-gen stats, probabilities, top leaders, and all things numbers. Joining me today is my brother, Tyler, and he's going to be talking about stats with us. Tyler, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm excited. This is probably my first time on one of these live shows, so let's kick it off.
Sounds good. All right. So to begin, we just finished the week of football. It's Wednesday. We're going into the brand new week tomorrow night. So we're going to start off with this week's leaders or last week's leaders. So I'm going to pull up our stats here. Passing leaders. Are you surprised that first place is Kirk Cousins with his win against Buffalo 33-30 at Buffalo with 30 completions, 50 attempts for 357 yards and one touchdown?
No, I'm not surprised, and I say that because of Justin Jefferson. Having Justin Jefferson in your on your team is like having Barry Sanders.
So you're comparing Justin Jefferson to Barry Sanders?
Not really.
Just more like his
I'm just saying
usefulness,
the
like he's reliable.
usefulness and the importantness and the amount of stats that player is able to put up. I mean, I'm only saying because Sanders played for a really bad team and he
True.
made it look easy. Justin Jefferson plays for okay, what everybody thought would be a bad team at the beginning of the season. Justin
True.
Jefferson plays for the Minnesota Vikings. Nobody thought they were going to be as successful as they have been. So Justin Jefferson is kind of a key aspect to Kirk Cousins' success and the Minnesota Vikings' success.
So with TJ Hawkinson joining the team, he's probably going to be splitting more targets. So is just Justin Jefferson going to get the workload that he's been getting, or are they going to be adjusting their offense a little bit? I have highlighted right here Justin Jefferson on the receiving stats. Fourth place right now with 69 receptions on the year for 1,060 yards and 4 touchdowns. So he is fourth, and Kirk Cousins has used him as a reliable target. So that definitely has a lot to do with why he got first place this week against Buffalo, which is struggling in the secondary just a little bit. Second place, we have Patrick
Right.
Mahomes with his win 27-17 versus Jacksonville, 331 yards. This is no surprise. Patrick Mahomes is good every week, 4 touchdowns, 0 sacks. He did get an interception, so he did get the best rating this week at 129.6. Passer ratings, though, are so controversial because sometimes a receiver will drop something or the offensive line won't guard their quarterback. So passer ratings, I feel like you can't grade a quarterback entirely on a passer rating. So Kirk Cousins, I even with the 71.8, I think deserves that first place
Well,
spot.
Kirk Cousins did have 2 interceptions.
Yeah, that's true. So Josh Allen, with his loss against Minnesota, Davis Mills lost against the Giants, and Russell Wilson with his loss at Tennessee. No surprise there. 6 sacks. Russell Wilson got sacked 6 times, 70.1 passer rating, and everyone else had only 1 touchdown. And everybody in the top 5 had at least 1 interception.
I'm surprised Russell is in that top 5. I'm not going to lie. He's been looking very disappointing this year.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like this week was a very defensive week. A lot of defenses shut down a lot of quarterbacks. So rushing leaders, Saquon Barkley is first place this week in rushing with his win 24-16 versus Houston. 35 carries for 152 yards, 4.3 average for 1 touchdown, and a 27-yard long. Does Justin Fields deserve to be in the first place spot with only 13 carries? He's only 5 yards away with an 11.3 average and 2 touchdowns.
Yes, he does deserve that because he's a quarterback.
Uh, that's
That's
right.
pretty impressive for a quarterback.
It's very impressive for a quarterback. I mean, you're against a broken down Detroit defense that can't stop the run for anything. But the least amount of carries is the same amount of yards as Jonathan Taylor, which almost had twice as many carries. So that's saying a lot. Justin Fields, we're going to put Justin Fields first place on the rushing leaders for this week to replace Saquon Barkley. That's what the 11 Yards podcast is going to do today. So then we have Jonathan Taylor, Aaron Jones, and then Deontay Foreman. Any more thoughts on the rushers, Tyler?
I have noticed in the last few games that so the NFL has really become a passing league. This season has been phenomenal in rushing yards and rushing touchdowns and things these running backs are able to do. I mean, this week has hit a point of like, I believe it was a 531 league average for rushing yards in up until now, which it hasn't been that high since, I believe, since 2003. And so
Wow.
seeing these rushing leaders and what all of them have been doing together as running backs has been really fun to watch. And then seeing the amount of yards they're all coming up with.
I'm going to do some math. So I'm on the rushing yard stat line right here. I'm going to take the top 10, and I'm going to see there's 8,000 yards between the top 10 running backs right now this season. That's a lot of yards between 10 running backs. So just to put that into perspective, that it does sum up to 8,000 yards. So on to receiving for this week, we have our leader. We were just talking about Justin Jefferson because he had an electric game with 10 receptions for 193 yards, a 19.3 yard average and 1 touchdown. So Justin Jefferson, Kirk Cousins, both number 1 this week against Buffalo. That crazy game that some people are calling it the game of the year. Kirk Cousins, so Justin Jefferson. We did talk about him a little bit earlier. What are your thoughts?
Justin Jefferson, I mean, like I said, is probably the reason the Minnesota Vikings are in first place in the NFL.
Justin Jefferson is the reason why the Minnesota Vikings are first place in the NFL. All right, that's a hot take. Came from Tyler himself. So we'll see if they're in the Super Bowl, and you can tell us that you told us so. Second place is CeeDee Lamb. Lost against Green Bay, 31-28, 11 receptions, 150 yards, and 2 touchdowns. CeeDee Lamb has been quiet. Fantasy owners who put him at wide receiver 3 just had the best week of their season with this crazy game against Green Bay, which they ended up losing. But if they hadn't lost, CeeDee Lamb wouldn't have got those numbers because most of those receptions were in garbage time. Tyler, what about CeeDee Lamb?
Well, they went into overtime, so I wouldn't say there was any garbage time for CeeDee Lamb because he put up a lot of points or a lot of yards in the first half, and that's when Dallas got up 28-14.
Right. They had a lead though. They had a lead, and so I think what they were trying to do was just throw the game, get the game over with, run the clock down. Pass it to CeeDee Lamb because he was open. They were trying to stop the run, so they left the receivers wide open. So I think that's a lot of where those yards came from. Third place, Stephon Diggs. Buffalo lost against Minnesota. 12 receptions, 128 yards. We won't get too into this. He did not score a single touchdown. Terry McLaurin with his win at Philadelphia, an upset. The same team that beat the 11-0 Steelers last year. Fun fact. 8 receptions on 28 yards and 0 touchdowns. Devontae Adams lost against Indianapolis. They are just playing awful. 9 receptions on 26 yards, 1 touchdown. Looks good on paper, but you got to win those games. Tyler?
You're exactly right. You could put up 200 yards and 3 touchdowns, but if you lose the game, nobody cares. The only person that cares is that fantasy guy who had you put up 40-plus points.
Exactly. That's great. So these first four defensive leaders, I noticed all have losses. Jordan Brooks, great linebacker, 11 solo tackles, 5 assists, and 16 total tackles to get first place in defense this week. 21-16 loss at Tampa Bay in Germany. Tyler, not much to say about Jordan Brooks. I mean, we know he's good. He's leading in tackles
Yeah,
completely in the
Jordan
NFL
Brooks
right now.
always. He has never had a bad game. I can't even think of any time that he has.
He's definitely a very important weapon on that Seahawks offense or offense, Seahawks defense. Drew Tranquil, linebacker for the Chargers, lost 22-16 at San Francisco. 7 solo tackles, 15 total tackles. Derwin James with 13 total tackles. Javon Hargrave, 13 total tackles, and Antonio Hamilton, 12 total tackles. We don't have to get too much into defensive leaders. It's pretty, usually there's that one defender that gets over 10 total tackles on a defense. So these are the top 5 for this week. Let's get into season stats right now. So highlighted right here, I have. And for those audio listeners, I have a spreadsheet up and I have just like a green highlight where the leaders are, but I'll let you know what those are. Leading in pass yards, is this any surprise, Tyler? It's Patrick Mahomes, 2,936 pass yards. He's on pace breaking a NFL record. 8 yards per attempt, 366 attempts, 245 completions, 66.9 completion percentage for 25 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. Are you surprised?
Yes, and the reason I say that is the absence of Tyreek Hill.
I knew you were going to say that. Okay.
Me, and I'm sure hundreds of thousands of other people thought Patrick Mahomes will not capitalize because there's no Tyreek Hill. But now he's leading in passing yards.
What about this guy right here?
Travis Kelce. Absolutely.
Travis Kelce. 8 touchdowns, 740 yards. He's the only tight end in the top 25 receiving leaders. At number, looks like he's number 6. So he has a lot to do with Patrick Mahomes' success. But yeah, that absence of Tyreek Hill. Could Patrick Mahomes' numbers be higher if Tyreek Hill still played for the Chiefs? We don't know. But Tua's is. Tyreek Hill's
I believe that
leading
it
in
would
receiving.
Be higher with Tyreek Hill. And I only say that because Marquez Valdes-Scantling has been really a letdown. And he was supposedly supposed to be Tyreek Hill's replacement. And he's not coming up. So I know Mahomes has all these yards. And it's only because Mahomes is Mahomes. Okay. But if Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce were out there at the same time, he would be winning these games. All of them.
I might have to agree with you. Because of that offensive weapon missing, he's been relying on Travis Kelce most of the time, which has worked. But is it going to work through the playoffs, through the offseason? We don't know.
I don't think
Tom
so.
Brady is second place. This I'm a little bit surprised about. 2,800 pass yards. Look, this is crazy because look, he's second place.
Never be surprised. Never be surprised about Tom Brady being on the top of a passing leaders list.
But only 12 touchdowns. That's what I'm surprised about, is that 12 number right there on the touchdowns, because they can make it down the field. How often do they get down the field, but they don't reach the end? I mean, you're absolutely right. Don't bet against Tom Brady. I mean, this is why. I mean, he's still second place. He still found a way, and he's leading in interceptions with only 2 on the season. All right, Ty, what about Tom Brady? Because, I mean, Mike Evans still isn't even doing as good as he did when they went to the Super Bowl. And I don't know, that offense just isn't clicking. What's going on?
Their rushing offense. I mean, their rushing looked really, really good last week, but every week before that, they haven't been able to do anything on the ground. And that's giving Tom Brady all of the pressure. It's giving him defenses that know that he's going to pass the ball because they can't run it.
Okay, so if the defenses know that they're going to pass, how does Tom Brady have 2,805 pass yards?
Because he's Tom Brady.
Because he's I like that answer. Okay. Josh Allen is third place, 2,733 pass yards, 8 yards per attempt, 300 tied with Patrick Mahomes for yards per attempt, 341 attempts, 220 completions, 64.5 completion percentage, and 20 touchdowns. The second most touchdowns of a quarterback, but 10 interceptions and a 96.6 quarterback rating. Josh Allen is third place. How do you feel? This makes sense. He was supposed to get MVP this year, supposed to win the Super Bowl, supposed to do all these things, and he's doing these things, but winning games. What's happening with Josh Allen?
Same thing that happened to him in the AFC Championship last year.
Interesting.
He is a really good quarterback, but everybody will probably disagree with me, but he is not a clutch quarterback.
He's not.
I
already disagree with you.
He is 0-3 in overtime games.
It's true.
He has lost, 2 AFC championships?
Yeah.
So it's hard to, statistically, it's hard to say Josh Allen is going to bring the Buffalo Bills all the way to the Super Bowl when he can't even win in overtime when he has the ball. I mean, he threw an interception in overtime to lose the game. You can't do that.
It's true. If you're in overtime, you can't be throwing interceptions. But if you're Josh Allen, you're putting up 35 points a game. Put up 35 points and let your defense take care of the rest. If I were Josh Allen, I would just do that. Because you're right. He cannot win in overtime. He can't win in high pressure situations. That game against the Dolphins, then that game against the Jets, and now the game against the Vikings. He's just under that kind of pressure. He's not the same quarterback he was supposed to be. We'll get through the last of the 5. Joe Burrow is 4th place, and then Geno Smith is 5th place for quarterbacks. Rushing. Saquon Barkley is leading, no surprise. 931 yards, 6 touchdowns, 198 attempts. What do you think about Saquon Barkley? Is he back? Is he back to take over the league in rushing? Because he's doing better than Nick Chubb. He's doing better than Dalvin Cook. He's doing better than Derrick Henry. Saquon Barkley is one of the better running backs this season.
That's no surprise. I mean, everybody always downgrades the Giants, no matter what. Everybody thought Saquon Barkley is going to be mediocre. Yeah, he was mediocre last year, maybe above average, but this year he's showing that he isn't a mediocre running back, that New York Giants are actually legit, that Saquon Barkley is legit.
Saquon Barkley is legit. I have to agree with you on that. Just because coming off that injury, everyone thought he was going to be slow. And he said, "What injury? What injury? Like, I'm going to go out and I'm going to play," and that's what he's doing. And he's bringing the Giants to victories alongside, Daniel Jones is even a better looking quarterback because Saquon Barkley's making him look amazing. Derrick Henry is 923 yards, 202 attempts, 9 touchdowns. Nick Chubb is our touchdown leader at 904 rush touchdowns, 904 rush yards, and 11 touchdowns, which is the most of any running back this season so far. So we'll skip over Derrick Henry because we already know that he's great. He is leading in attempts. But yeah, Nick Chubb with 11 touchdowns right now. So Cleveland has had to depend on their run game, but Nick Chubb has not been a letdown at all. What's going to happen when Deshaun Watson comes back? Is Nick Chubb not going to get as many attempts as 11 touchdowns is a lot of touchdowns for a running back going into week 11.
You're not going to just cut one of the greatest running backs in the NFL right now just because Deshaun Watson's back. No,
I mean, I think they're going to be focusing more on a passing game. They're not going to be focusing so much on the rush game.
None of his production is going to go down.
All right.
Not Nick Chubb.
Noted. So Josh Jacobs is 4th at 821 yards. He is probably the best player on the Raiders right now. They are such a bad team right now, and they can't even get anything. They even have Devontae Adams. Even Derek Carr has been at least mediocre, but he's just been bad. So Josh Jacobs, he's going to break his back holding up this team. What do you think about Josh Jacobs and the Raiders?
I don't see the hype. I truly don't.
There's no hype at all, but Josh Jacobs
He
is
doesn't win
producing.
games, so what's the point?
I mean, maybe he should go to a different team. Maybe he needs a team that he can actually show his number and win games with the numbers that he's putting up. I don't know. I mean, Josh has been here since he got drafted, and he's still a good running back, but it's not showing because of their record. And I think that maybe they aren't giving him the chances. I mean, 159 attempts. I don't think they're giving him the opportunity as I focus more on the Derek Carr, Devontae Adams thing, which that experiment is going wrong in every way.
Yes, it is.
Here's Justin Fields, which is the only quarterback in the top 25 rushing leaders this season. Fun fact. Aaron Jones, Dalvin Cook, Travis Etienne, Sanders. We'll go into receiving. I think we're going to wrap it up soon here. So let's get through these last pages of stats. Tyreek Hill, first place, 81 receptions for 1,148 yards, leads both in receptions and yards, but only has 4 touchdowns. Because guess who has all of the touchdowns? Jalen Waddle. So it's another fun fact. Jalen Waddle has twice as many touchdowns as Tyreek Hill with 8. But Tyreek Hill is leading in yards, so he's good down to the zone. Jalen Waddle's good in the red zone. Tua has the 2 greatest receivers in the league, according to me. Miami can make a run for the Super Bowl, I think, with those 2. So yeah.
That's a big one.
Cooper Kupp, who actually went down with an injury. He's out. He has to have surgery, I think, today, or it might have been yesterday. Third is Stephon Diggs.
So no Cooper Kupp, no Matthew Stafford.
So the Rams, I mean, can we say their season's over? Is it time to say that their season is done?
Saying that halfway through the season, I'm not sure.
I mean, they've only won 3 games. I mean, they're 3-6. They have the same record as the Lions.
Well, so have the Lions, and we're 2 games from playoffs, so you can't count that out.
But I mean, and then look at the NFC West. I mean, San Francisco is a better team than Seattle, but Seattle's still first place. It's so competitive. There's no way the Rams can compete in that division this season, in my opinion, especially with missing Cooper Kupp and with Matthew Stafford just has not looked like himself this season.
Well, he doesn't have an offensive line.
It's true. I mean, he's getting banged up like he did in Detroit.
It is not Stafford's fault. I'm going to say that. And I'm not saying that because he played for Detroit for 12 years. I'm saying that because the offensive line doesn't let him throw the ball.
Fair. Okay. Hey, I'm wearing his jersey. I like Stafford. I just think he might be done this season. I think it's over for him. So my headphones just unplugged. So then we have Justin Jefferson, 1,060 yards, 4 touchdowns. Austin Eckler at 420 yards and 4 touchdowns. And then Travis Kelce, 63 receptions, 740 yards, 8 touchdowns. This is a new one that I just added this year. It's scoring, or this week. It's scoring. So the 49ers with 9 rush touchdowns, 12 receiving touchdowns, 23 total touchdowns. They do have the most points. Mostly because of field goals. The Bears are second in points. They also have the most rush touchdowns of any team. The Bills have the most total touchdowns of any team at 29 total touchdowns, and the Bills have the most receiving touchdowns. So that's just a fun stat I wanted to share with everybody. Here's a cool one. I don't know if there's any Michigan State fans out there, but Kenneth Walker of Seattle, 22 miles per hour. He is the fastest ball carrier this season with the 74-yard rush touchdown. He is this is almost illegal in the school zone. That's how fast he was running. Ty, what do you think about this? I mean, he's fast. That's fast.
Well, I'm a Michigan State fan, so I loved watching Kenneth Walker. I knew he was going to be huge in the NFL. As soon as he got drafted, I was like, you guys got a good pick. And Pete Carroll loved him as well.
True.
I mean, he saw something in him. Kenneth Walker is I wouldn't be surprised if he does not get Rookie of the Year.
I wouldn't be surprised either. I mean, with Chris Carson retiring and then Rashad Penny getting hurt, I think that was the best thing that's ever happened to Seattle. I mean, it's crazy to say, but I actually think it
Absolutely.
is because Kenneth Walker had the opportunity to prove himself worthy. The longest play of the season so far was a 29-yard interception by Desmond King, cornerback for Houston, which he traveled a total of 123.9 yards. That's that's a lot of yards. Remember, he was weaving in and out. He went like sideline to sideline, and it was. I think it was like a. I have no idea how long it was, but yeah, 123 yards. I don't know how long it took. But that's fun stat right there for next gen. Fastest sack was Brandon Jones of Miami, strong safety, 2.13 seconds. It took him 2 seconds to sack the quarterback. This is a 1-2 improbable completions. Devontae Parker with a 7.4% completion probability for a 25-yard reception in week 3. Anybody who remembers that catch knows that was definitely an improbable catch, and he caught it. The next one's Devontae Smith, 45 yards. Michael Gallup and DJ Moore, all with improbable completion. Some of these wide receivers are really good at getting to that ball no matter what. A lot of times it's like, oh, they're not going to catch that ball. Like, this is a very improbable completion, but they find a way to catch it, and that's why they get paid the big bucks. Tyler, I think it's time to call it good because I think we got through a lot of stats and talked a lot
All
about
right.
football. How are you feeling?
And it's getting really dark out here, so you can't even see me. Um, it's good. It's been a really good year, and I love statistics, so I follow it a lot, and
Yeah.
seeing and comparing like passing yards and rushing yards to all of these players, especially me being an avid fantasy player. It's fun. It's fun to see everything come together, and then at the end of the season, you start to compare season records with players you watched like 10 years ago. So, stats to me is a lot of fun.
I agree. And I was excited to have you on because I know you like stats and you and I talk about stats a lot. So everybody, this is my brother Tyler. Hopefully he'll be on again some other time. This was fun. This has been 11 Yards Podcast presented by Legit Football. See ya.
Cool.